boys and girls, children of all ages, so long as you're over the age of 13, coming to you live through the power of the interwebs. It's Joe, it's John, it's the Gas Up Pod Show. How you doing, Joe?
Showcast, PodTube.
Yeah.
I'm doing good, man. Let's drop our new social handles, which is at
Absolutely.
the Gas Up Podcast. So you can find us on all social channels at the Gas Up Podcast. That's Insta, Twitter, and you're the
Facebook.
social media.
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah. So
guru.
at the Gas Up Podcast. I don't want to say the wrong thing. At the Gas Up Podcast, and we were able to secure Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. LinkedIn is coming, folks. Be ready for that.
LinkedIners, you
yeah,
premium
exactly,
LinkedIn members. I have
exactly.
questions for you. Is it worth it? I need to know.
Before we get to the deep into this, as always, I'm your host, John Case. With me is Joe Remley. Remy, how are things going for you?
Good, man. It's been a great week. It's been a busy week, which we're all lucky to be able to say these days with things shutting back down. So I'm stoked to be here. I'm stoked to record the 4th installment of our complete show. A lot has happened over the past week. It was a big week for the show. It was a big week for the podcast launch. So we now have a podcast, an actual podcast.
Actual podcast.
Instead of just alluding to one or saying we have a podcast. But
or promising you that it's coming down the road.
We actually have a podcast now. So we haven't pushed it out to all mediums yet. I was able to get it on SoundCloud and Spotify.
Yep.
For the time being. So for all you big Spotify users, you can, while you're cruising down the street, you can check out our first shows up. And by the time this airs, probably at least 2 shows will be up. So you'll have
I think we'll have 2 or 3. Yeah, by the time it's all said and done. Guys, also, I got to give props to my co-host here. He went on a little bit of a bender the other day, and out of nowhere, we have an actual working website. So if you guys want to catch us on the website, you can, the Instagram, the Twitter, the Facebook. But if you actually want to go to the official Gas Up website, it's thegasupshow.com.
That's right.
You guys can find us there, and we're going to make it available on. We'll put some information in the description. The description gets longer and longer with each additional show. As we add more and more components, all of a sudden that description is actually starting to get filled out quite nicely, beyond just a little caption of what the particular episode might be about on any given day.
As promised, we're learning, growing, and making mistakes in front of your very eyes. So we appreciate you early followers following along on the journey. And for those who are going back in time and watching things archived, we also appreciate that you cared enough to go back in time.
To actually go back
and watch us suck progressively less, hopefully every episode.
Right. Ideally, I mean, if anything, you can check out the plant.
The plant. I got questions about the plant. The plant's become the third leg of the tripod.
Host. Yeah, the third host. Yeah. So an active participant.
I have no comparison shot to look at, but it seems like it's doing great on my left, the viewer's left, if you will.
Yeah.
It's really filling in over there. It's really exciting to see the plant grow with the show.
So you asked me, what was it? Maybe one show ago, what we were doing or what I was doing.
Yeah.
I heard through the grapevine that if you put orange peels in it, I guess it provides nutrients or something. I don't know. It was kind of like a information being fed down the line. And so I did that, and now that's kind of what it looks like now. So continuing to feed it water. It's my first attempt at keeping anything alive that is of the plant variety. So hopefully we'll continue to see it grow and thrive. I think at some point you can't see it, and we're actually getting way too deep into this, but there's actually 2 different plants growing in there.
Okay, you got a little volunteer plant.
Exactly. So we're gonna have to maybe do a little bit of a
it's like a beta.
Separate.
You can't have 2 in one bowl. They're gonna kill each other.
Exactly. So man, we'll keep you guys updated. So if you do go back into those archives, you'll see the beginnings of where the plant started, and hopefully, by the end, we have a full-grown tree back there on top of my printer.
Once it blasts through the roof, we know we've made it, right?
Exactly. Well, tell me about your week. It's been a while since we did this. I was telling you before we even started recording, I was excited. It's been a while since we have actually gotten a chance to catch up, to rap about not just putting the show together, but everything going on. So give me a little bit of what happened to you this week.
Yeah, so I think things are picking up for me as a business, and some of my partners are kind of, growing either accidentally or on purpose alongside me. So a lot of kind of client customer interaction this week, which can be, it's funny how kind of tired that makes you, right? Anybody who's been in the customer service industry or in hotels, we used to call it our customer service face is broken, right? Like, it's like you get to a certain point in the day where I liken it to being at Disneyland when you work in a hotel. Like as soon as you come out from backstage, you have to be perfect. You have to embody that character.
Right.
And in a luxury hotel, that character is, a luxury high-end customer first individual. And so we would come into the office after a 4-hour run on the floor and we'd be like, oh, my customer service face is broken. I need some time. Don't talk to me. I'm going in my office. I'm listening to Tupac and I'm throwing a ball against the wall for 30 minutes so I could,
right.
so I could decompress.
Well, you got to decompress because I mean, dealing with people is not easy, right? Dealing with emotions and ideas, expectations. There's a whole kind of can of worms that comes with the person.
Now we have a name for it. It's called Karen. Everyone says, you're being a Karen. So we didn't have that back then, but now that we have a nice, neat bucket to place all those in, everyone at a luxury hotel is a Karen for the most part. But good week, another positive week. I have a lot of great energy going around the projects I'm working on. I'm super excited to be involved in all of them, and they kind of keep continuing to get more elaborate and interesting. And part of the beauty of it is like we don't know where this is going as far as like some of the stuff I'm working on. There's a lot of hooks in the water. We hope that one or all of them hit. Hopefully not at the same time, but that's kind of the when you're in business, you kind of throw a lot of hooks out there, and if they all hit at once, you're like, hey, oh damn, that's a good problem to have. Right, but now we got to like spool up something that we obviously aren't currently prepared for. So that's kind of the situation I'm in with a couple of my clients. I'm just hoping that they all kind of hit at a fruitful time for everybody. But what about you, man? How's things looking on your side?
Dude, things really well actually. It's interesting how things have progressed since everything happened with the pandemic, COVID, all that, because I don't know if this has happened to you. I think I might be in the minority. I don't know. But in my mind, like my mind state kind of more or less stayed in like April. And it's taken me a minute to really fully grasp the fact that like, dude, it's full on summer. It's like we're in the middle of July right now, based on how things kind of stalled and then all of a sudden got propelled big time with regards to, at least with the business, if you will, because all of a sudden interest is high. Things are definitely moving. And so a lot of the clients are coming out of the woodwork, folks who previously thought that the bottom was coming out from under everything and everything was going to fall. And so they put things on pause, but now it's been 4 months. And so they're ready to kind of come back in and participate. And it's been good, man. It's been really, really good. It's I'm curious to see what'll happen as we head into the election, into the fall and then into the election, as to how everything shakes up. But at least right now, things are good. I cannot complain. As a matter of fact, I was telling you last week we had to postpone shooting because I was out on a couple of days of like day-long excursions looking for properties, like clients that are really eager to get into something. And so we're looking in every nook and cranny to, whatever might be available for them. So, definitely looking good. And I'm eager to see what the future brings. It's definitely interesting. New procedures on everything, from entering the properties to the documentation that the agents require before you even get in, making appointments, all that stuff. So kind of just becoming part of the norm at this point. And kind of understanding the reality of the situation that we're facing and doing our best to overcome it. So yeah, it's so far so good. I'm curious to see how things develop as we head into the rest of the year.
By the way, happy tax week, everybody. It's tax week. By the time this airs, it'll be probably the tail end of it. But if you're like me and you procrastinated till this week to do your taxes, you probably didn't have any fun doing it, because anybody that was going to get any money back would have done this, either before the pandemic or during the pandemic. So if you did your taxes this week,
that was
like me, then you're probably not very happy about the fact that it's tax week, but we got through it, and we'll make better decisions next year.
It was interesting that they, even with the delay, I still ended up waiting to the last minute to do it.
Yeah.
But
because what fun is it to do it early? That's not fun.
Yeah, especially when you owe money, especially when you at the end of the day, you're going to have to end up paying some. It's kind of like, well, let me make sure I got my math right. Let me make sure I did carry that one. Do I really owe that much?
Right.
And, but even then, by the way, I was watching the news and they're like, if you still need an extension, if you still need an extension, you can still go ahead and make sure that you file it by, I think it was yesterday. And they're like, if you do owe money, you have to make sure you pay a good amount of upfront before you start getting penalties and things like that.
And then your payment plan is an extension to an extension. So Yeah, I mean, as far as I could tell, nobody that did their taxes this week got a ton of money back. I don't know. Maybe there's someone out there that's like, I'm going to wait and then get my money from the government if they have any left on.
They're like,
on
woo,
July 15th.
making it rain, baby. Yeah.
Pretty sure if you were getting money back, you didn't wait till July anything. But anyway, happy tax week, everybody. I'm going to go a little lightning round with you because I have some topics on the board that I want to talk about. That aren't really segments, but it just sounds like a cool little. Let's just rip through these. So,
all right, let's do it.
How are you up on the NBA bubble? Because this is intriguing to me, right? With everything going on right now, I think it's the only sport for me that I actually care about starting this season, restarting the season. I'm a hockey guy. I'm a baseball guy. NASCAR is getting worse and worse by the second for me. NBA bubble is intriguing. I think they're doing it about as well as they can, but like. Give me a hot take on the bubble. What do you think? You think it's working? You think it's going to happen? You think this blows up in their face? What are you hearing about it?
I think that, yes, they're going to go through with it. I think it's going to be what we're seeing in California. Honestly, I think California is kind of a perfect example of what's happening. They're going to start it. They're going to get it going. They're going to inevitably come up against some things. They might have to pause for a second, and they're going to try to get through. They're going to try to get through it anyway.
They're going to crown a champion. Your prediction is that they get to the championship and some champion is crowned. And who do you think that'll be? Any takes on who you think it'll be?
I really think, barring anything crazy happening, I really think Bron's gotta pull out
Lakers.
He has to do. This is like this would be title 3.5 or 3-A or however you want to see it, because this is more of like a tournament win. You know what I mean?
We'll see. We'll see though. Like, how much is it worth in the end? I think it's too early to say. Because they had a significant. Their seeding is based on what they've done so far, and that's undeniable, right? I mean, the Lakers were far and away the best team in the West when the season ended. So you can't take that away from them if they're the number 1 seed. But yeah, how do these playoffs look and feel? Are there teams that are decimated by COVID to the fact that you're only playing half the team?
Correct.
I'm really intrigued by the Trailblazers of all teams. I think that team could really get in there and do something, because they had 2 guys. I mean, they're out of the playoff situation right now. They had to win a ton of games just to get in.
I'd say that's going to be
win
that's
out
a lot of
just
weight
to get the play-in game. But they have Nurkic back. They have Zach Collins back. Dame is he's emerged as one of the best point guards, if not the best in the game. I'm scared of the Blazers if I'm the Lakers. If they get the 1-8 matchup, I think the Blazers can knock off the Lakers. I think it's Giannis and the Bucks to lose at this point. They're young. They got fresh legs.
Oh, really? So I was going to ask you your favorite. So you think the favorite are the Bucks?
I think the Bucks, because of their age and their depth. Although I just saw Eric Bledsoe got diagnosed with COVID-19 today, so
that's what I'm saying. And Westbrook as well. I think this is gonna be inevitable. I think it's one of those.
I think that, by the way, they brought way too many teams in the bubble. 22 teams in this bubble is ridiculous. They probably should have brought no 16? More than 16, 12 16, maybe. There was really. I'm a Mavs fan. Mavs would have been the 7 seed, so I would have been pissed if they went 12, because it would have been 6-6, and the Mavs would have been bounced. But you could have made an argument that maybe the Mavs were better than any 6 seed in the East and thrown them in there. I don't know. I think 12 was the right number. 22 is definitely not the right number, but there's a ton of dudes in this bubble. The Wizards should have backed out already. They have no chance to do anything. They can't even make the playoff. But anyway, the food was a trending topic on day 1 and
Fire
2.
Fest, you mean?
The Fire Fest sequel at the Disney Fairgrounds over there. But then it seemed to get better. The NBA telling players not to live Facebook Live or Instagram.
Telling him to stop.
Of course, it was J.R. Smith. Immediately doesn't even play a game and already gets in trouble. So perfect. So I'm the most intrigued by far about the NBA than any other sport. Honestly, I think baseball is probably.
So that was going to be my question. I was going to turn it on its head and ask you. So baseball starting back up. They're talking about golf.
Baseball.
The Fight Island has been on and popping, so UFC's been going. Probably, I think UFC was the first, and they continue to put on shows. I think I mentioned baseball, basketball. So having
no one's really talking about hockey. MLS has started.
The fact that there was no sports for 4 months or something to that effect. Now that sports are being reintroduced, is your interest waned? Now that you haven't been, it hasn't been part of your life, is it something that you're looking forward to at all? Or are you kind of over it and now it's like you said, it's just basketball and that's kind of it?
for me it is. I mean, I have a lot going on in my life right now. Sports will always be important to me. They'll always be, one of my dream professions was to be a sportscaster. So I'll never like turn it off. But I mean, I watched like a half an MLS game when they first started playing games again. Wasn't intrigued. No fans. Weird. And when they score a goal, they don't know whether to hug or fist bump or dick bump or whatever. So
I don't recommend that last one.
No, yeah. I mean, the Cubs were doing it when they won the World Series. So it's the thing. I mean, I don't know. Hockey might be cool, but they're not really hyping hockey up very much.
Not at all. I didn't even know that was going on. I'll be honest.
Well, it hasn't started yet. It's on the same timeline as the NBA, give or take 1 or 2 days. Yeah, I mean, the NBA is just right now. It's all I really want to see. I mean, I don't even care if they play any baseball games this year, and that's sad to say. I mean, football is only intriguing for me to see, like, what this season looks like. Can we have fans? Like, that's the big thing sitting out there for football.
Did you hear about college football playing conference only? So like less.
Yeah, I don't think college football is going to happen. I think they're in the same boat as baseball. These guys don't even get paid, man. What's my motivation as a player to go back to my campus and when my campus probably isn't even doing face-to-face instruction and go play football for no money? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't, that's a tough one for me. I don't think it's going to happen. I think for me, sports have gone to the background significantly, and I think they'll stay there for a while.
Wow. Okay.
And that's crazy for me to say because, I was clicked onto everything in January, February. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. Like I try to watch sports, but I'm not feeling golf. NASCAR was a flash in the pan with the Bubba stuff. Now they're like, NASCAR is so greedy for views right now. It's disgusting. Like they're broadcasting all their little backstage fights and people talking crap on
going WWE style. Like
there was like a little skirmish in the pits and they put it on all their social media.
Let me tell you something, brother.
I was like, you guys are so sad. Like, it's so disgusting. So I'm done with NASCAR, honestly. Like, golf is cool, but without the roars and the Masters and Tiger winning big tournaments, but Tiger's playing in a tournament this weekend, so that's intriguing. If Tiger could make a run this weekend, he might be able to get me back in the golf game.
There you go. Pull you right back in, son.
I'm not intrigued by Bryson DeChambeau and, some no-name Canadian dudes winning tournaments that don't matter. So I wanted to bring up the debate, and I don't even think I prepped you on this, but the debate between YouTube versus podcast, right? We did a little bit of research this week on this. Mm-hmm. By the way, I'm dropping this on you like cold, so I hope it works out.
Let's do this.
So we've gone toe to toe on this pretty much the whole time.
From the jump, by the way, from the very first conversation.
and I think both of us have heard, because we've only been on YouTube from inception, and we're just now branching out to podcasts and podcasting, and we're still in the nascent stages of that.
Right.
So my whole thing yeah, there you go. Little
I like that.
SAT action there. I got a 600 on my verbal on my SAT. So I was a unicorn male, with the decent
with the vocab, with the vocab,
with the vocals. So so I think everyone knows where I come out on this. I was a podcast proponent. I was an audio only proponent. I came to you were able to lawyer me up and convince me to go
use that YouTube. Influence on you.
And now we've migrated. Yeah, you honeyed the shit out of me. And now we've kind of migrated back to both, really. And our website is like a good backdrop because you can get it anywhere.
You can do both, right? Exactly.
So once again, www.thegasupshow.com. Check out the website. It has both the podcast and the YouTube channel, and it's got embeds. You can just click right from there and watch our stuff.
Cool place to plug.
But so how do you feel about this debate now? Are you still wholly in the same camp? I know you consume things through YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm kind of more of a podcast only consumer. Have you migrated back to the middle? Where are you at on this right now?
I think for the are you okay? Quick question. Am I talking as the creator now?
Overall? Yeah, as the creator. Overall, not how you consume it, but how do you think the show should be?
I think as a creator now,
focused?
We have to be everywhere, bro. We have to be omnipresent. Like you have to have the pod. Like I've taken a short survey of our subscribers. Thank you guys out there, all of you who have taken the time to subscribe. Don't forget to like and comment. The folks, there are folks in a camp that are YouTube only. That's where they get all their stuff. And I have migrated to that camp over time as YouTube has kind of grown market share and now has access to all a variety of podcasts. I originally started as audio only. So back in like early, what is it, like '08, 9, and 10, I would actually have the iTunes set up to download my favorite podcast. I would hook up my iPod, download them, and so it was basically audio only for the longest time.
Jim Rome, Have a Take, Don't Suck. I
All
was
that.
heavy
Oh yeah. Oh
into
yeah.
that game in college.
And
On the bus going around campus listening to Jim Rome.
And you know, I was, even back then I was listening. So for example, I would listen to legal podcasts. I would listen to Rogan. And there was all these kind of like fledgling things because people did. Bill Simmons.
That's a good word, fledgling.
Yeah.
Nice
So,
word. Nice retort.
So there was kind of like, it was kind of in its infancy, right? A lot of people didn't even know what a podcast was.
Yeah.
And so, but slowly over time, it started to become such a hassle of trying to figure out where they were coming from and when they were getting uploaded. When especially when all of a sudden, when unlimited data became a thing, and now I could be on YouTube all day if I wanted to. I wasn't necessarily relegated to just a couple of hours or Wi-Fi or whatnot. Now, the one thing that I will say, which you brought up an excellent point, and you kind of reiterated again right now, if you don't have Wi-Fi, it can be an issue. The YouTube doesn't really work when you don't have the Wi-Fi.
So or if you don't plan on plugging your phone in anytime soon,
and you can drain your battery. Correct. Yeah.
I think I found the dividing line in this argument. I was talking to my best friend on the phone today, and he was like, "Dude, I want to watch your show, but I haven't had time to. Like, I have it bookmarked, but you know, you got 3 episodes in the can. I haven't watched any of them." And I was like, "Thanks for the support, buddy.
Just any one of them, pick one. It doesn't matter."
But I think that he's in the same boat I would be if he had a show. I just don't watch YouTube like that. So once again, it's back to this whole, and so he has 2 kids. And I think I found the dividing line is people with kids. Like, I think it's harder for people with kids to consume YouTube than it is a podcast. Like, the way I explained it to him is I'm more likely to be in my car driving somewhere
where you could utilize it, right?
And listening to a podcast that I will then, like, you know, they call it driveway time, where you're like so into radio that you just sit in your driveway and consume the rest of the show or the rest of the segment, even though you're home and you could go home, or even though you're at your business and you could walk in. That's like the golden, when radio's really working, it's called driveway time. Like, you're so good that even though you're done with your journey, you're still listening. I would do that with a podcast. So I would like a podcast so much that I would put my earphones in and walk in the house or go outside and work in the garden and continue to listen to it. But I don't think I would do that with YouTube. If I was really into something, I would just pause it and then I would do whatever I'm doing. And then maybe I'd come back, maybe I wouldn't. So I think it's easier to consume podcasts. And as a parent, when you're like, when you're a parent, it's like you're always on the clock. Like, you can't even take a shower without yelling out, like, "Hey, I'm going to take a shower." Like, make sure that, you know, our kid doesn't
stay alive.
Yeah. In the next 15 minutes or whatever. So
don't do anything too crazy. I'll be right back.
I think that's the dividing line, is like, people that don't have kids probably would consume it more on YouTube, and people that do probably would consume it more on podcasts. So I'm glad that we're in both. I'm glad that this is
I think we have to be in both.
Continuing debate, but I'm also glad that now we're on both platforms. And eventually you'll be able to consume the entirety of the show on both platforms. Right now, everything's kind of going up first on YouTube, and we're catching up a little bit on the podcast.
On the podcast side.
So look out for Apple. That's in the near future. Look out for Google. Google has a podcast platform, and there's so many more that we can tap into. But we're already on Spotify and SoundCloud, like I said. But I wanted to bring that up because that's always a fun debate to have, of like, what, you know, which one's better. By the way, some stats on that: 31 million YouTube channels, and over 1 million, almost 2 million now, podcasts out there. So it's a 30-to-1 ratio.
So actually, okay, so then podcast is still more if you're trying to break through all the noise, I guess podcast is the way to go, versus I guess the thing too is, and I think we're living it, this is so much easier than, you know, you just set it up, start recording, start talking.
Well, to have a YouTube channel, you really could just have a phone. But to have a podcast that's of the caliber of notable podcasts, you actually have to do more work, right? Like, you have to have microphones, you have to have editing software, you have to have modulation, you have to have some sort of time to devote to, you know, RSS feeds and keeping up with all that stuff. So honestly, at YouTube, you could just point the phone at yourself and jump off a freaking mountain and then, you know, get 1 million views. Like, if you're in the viral space, you can actually do really well just jumping on top of a McDonald's tray and having your friend drag you behind the street and getting, you know, and getting views like that. It's very possible that that could be a high hit rate video. Now it's not going to be a highly monetized video because as a buyer, if you're trying to advertise to people who are watching that video, like who are they? Like what demographic are they in? Who do they have any money for anything? Like we don't know. So the monetization of YouTube is obviously much more powerful because of the reach, because there's 31 plus million channels, which means there's billions of subscribers and all that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's always going to be an interesting debate, and I think it's going to be a recurring theme where we're going. The other thing I want to talk about is this whole, how do we figure out the school, like the public school system right now? Talking about an argument for people with kids. So I'm coming at this from two perspectives, and I want to bring you in on the, like, so I'll kind of riff on the what does it mean for my family, and then you can riff on the economic impact of it, because I think it's important to note that there's really two sides to this, right? And you could see there's a lot of politicizing this right now of, well, we need to get kids back in schools, right? That's like the prevalent argument that's going on right now. But the undertones of that are twofold. One is people actually care about learning and development in kids, right? That's like the should be the primary part, but I'm not even going to go so far as to say it is.
Agreed.
The second part is, if we don't get these damn kids back in school, we can't restart our economy, you know, around the country. So, and I think that's actually a little bit more prevalent than anyone's willing to admit. So I see it as a two-part argument. The first one is almost impossible to solve because it's the moving target of, like, how the hell do we even do this? Like, what surges are we going to see? It's like an NBA bubble situation. Like, we could have the perfect plan, and it's never going to
work, right?
It's never going to work out the way we planned it. The only difference is those are guys making $20 million a year, and these are kids, and so we can, you know, it's a little easier to play with the lives of people who are adults, and they're saying, you know, I'll go make my $20 million a year to go into this bubble. And obviously, there's not enough funding to do what the NBA is doing, testing every day and all that stuff. So, as a parent, it's a high anxiety moment for parents, because, like, we want our kids to go back to school because there's a lot of value in that. And as somebody with a 6-year-old son, this is a crucial year in his life and his development, to be around his peers, to be motivated by his, you know, scholastic, whatever, whether it's a field trip or even recess. Like, you know, for our son, it's like, we just want him to go play and have fun and be a normal kid. And, you know, he's obviously at no risk to him, ideally, or very little. So the anxiety around that is going to be prevalent and constant for a while. But my question is, how much do we care about this economy at this point? Like, are we going to send kids back to school just to create an elaborate daycare so people can restart the economy? Does that matter to anybody? Because let's not bullshit it. Like, that's what it is, right? The big push, especially from certain political assignments out there, is we don't really care about the kids. Let's just get parents back to their jobs. And the only way they can get two parents back to their jobs and create more cogs in the wheel is to get these kids somewhere, whether it's a daycare, whether it's a school. So, I mean, what do you think about that? Like, is that a legitimate?
Well, I got a third. Yeah, I think there is, and I'm gonna put you on the spot and throw a monkey wrench your way, and we'll address your questions in a second. But something to think about is, what about the teachers? Like, yeah, the kids may be not at risk, but aren't, like, a majority of teachers are, call it, between what, like 30 and 60 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have these folks that are in and around, and kids do get it, right? They can get they can get sick, not necessarily sick, but they can spread the illness. Maybe not
just like you and I,
right,
exactly. Same level, yeah.
And so just something to think about, right? Doubling back to your question. I find I don't have kids, so I always feel a little sort of on edge as far as trying to speak about something where in essence anybody can point to and say, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, John. You don't have kids. So let's put that on the table. But
we don't care. Said, we just speak our mind. We don't.
But care. That being said, I do think that there is. I think folks are realizing just how much of our economy is tied into having kids go to school, so that you have parents that can go to work. And all of a sudden, because one of the things I was talking to somebody else about is, at the end of the day, I mean, they're your kids. Aren't you responsible for them? Not just from 6 to midnight or the next day, but like all day, every day.
But those same parents will turn around and sue a school district when their kid gets COVID because
I mean,
school here.
right. I'm just like I said. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of like, if those are your children, then they're your children 24/7. Now you get the benefit of having a system that provides you free schooling, which then in turn gets utilized as free daycare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, quasi-free. I mean, we still pay taxes.
No,
we
true,
still,
no,
we
yeah,
still
yeah.
contribute to
Right,
our taxes and municipalities and all that.
I'm saying free in the sense of like there's not a bill at the end of the month unless you go to private school or something.
It's
Otherwise,
not an additional.
Exactly. So it's kind of baked into the system. So I think that this is highlighting some of the realities of parenthood, right? If you didn't have schools, or if you did do homeschooling or some other alternative, this is showing you the reality of what it's like to really be a parent 24/7. And I think a lot of folks are kind of like, whoa, like I thought once they got to a certain age, I can let them
We're
go.
not very good at it, at being parents 24/7. We were only really good at being parents from like 5:30 p.m.
till
like
8
midnight or 9.
and then we reconvene in the morning.
We
at
go
like
back
6
to
in the
being
morning.
selfish assholes for the rest of the day.
So
no, I think what you just said brought up two kind of new points in my mind. One of them is, so I'm really good at remembering like numbers and percentages and stuff. So I remember seeing, as I'm scrolling through all these school district posts, I remember seeing a stat that 35% of the personnel in our school district, which is Redlands Unified, is over 50 years old, which is like, once again, like that's COVID demographic.
That's COVID demo.
That's the thing that the virus feasts on the most, right?
Yep.
So 35% is an insanely significant amount of you know, I'm not going to say elderly, but you know, the higher end, people that suffer from it the most.
Correct.
So that's an alarming number. And the second thing that you made me think of that I've already had the thought on, because I know a lot of teachers and they're being very vocal right now on social media, like this is their time to shine and step up and say whatever they want to say, which is, it's pretty unanimous. Like they're like, we're not ready to go back.
A lot of teachers don't want to go back. No, exactly. They're like,
right? I mean, we can do the same thing. I mean, we could just bring our A game on Zoom this year instead of whatever the hell happened last year when everyone was trying to figure it out on the fly, or Google Classroom or whatever you want to call it. But this is another, like, these people are underpaid as hell. Like you just mentioned it, like this is our free daycare, quote unquote. And we're trusting our kids, like more than half of our children's day is spent with their educator or a group of educators. And still everyone's okay with these people getting paid like $35,000 to $50,000 in their first few years as a teacher. Like it's only till you get a master's degree and 10 years of experience where you actually have a nice paycheck as a teacher for all the work it is, for all the heavy lifts that you have to do emotionally with families and kids, and the time spent in and out of the classroom grading papers and guiding our children to
our youth
better. Yeah, our youth, the next wave, whatever we're going to call these
the next generation
of people. It's just another highlight that these people don't make enough money. And I've already gone on record with my theory of why they don't make a lot of money. And I think it's true, but yeah, they're underpaid. And now we're like, go get your $50,000 a year ass back to work so that we could restart our economy. Not complaining, but like, you know, there's certain people that feel like just shut up and go back and, you know, grade papers. And I'm glad that a lot of them are like, no, this is not go back to work. It's a freaking pandemic and everyone else is sitting the bench. Why aren't we allowed to sit the bench in this critical moment? I think that was a quiet argument in the summer because we wouldn't have school anyway. So nobody was really bitching about it, but now it's,
well, I mean, we both know teachers, and I've had conversations with several folks, and they flat out said, like, I don't want to go back, not while this thing is still kind of out there. And at the end of the day, I don't know, you know, if I have, you know, 25 kids and they're, you know, this is a high school teacher, for example, 25 kids, and they're changing every hour. I get a new set of kids, and that's a totally new parameter of unknowns, right? Who they were out with, if they were hanging out with their friends, if their families adhere to the social distancing and the mask, or if their family thinks that it's a hoax or whatever it is. And all of a sudden you're bringing that in here, and now you're exposing me to that on a daily basis. It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be involved in that. Yeah. And so I think it's a very complicated issue because, to your point, a lot of people do use school as a means to keep the kids occupied and allow them to do their work.
It's so obvious now, right? It was like, it almost was unspoken until we got to this point in March when everything shut down. It was like,
Oh wait, I
Oh
have to have my
shit,
kid.
this
I
was
have to have the kid
hard.
at home
Like,
all day.
yeah, we gotta do this for like the foreseeable future. We're screwed. Like,
Right,
and so
right.
it's so obvious now. I got to take a break to turn on the light.